Here's Boris Sawyer.
Good evening. White House Chief of Staff John Sununu continues under fire tonight for his use of military planes on personal and political trips. Government agencies are loudly complaining about the policies Sununu imposed, and he is being criticized inside his own party. With all the controversy, President Bush is now preparing to tighten rules governing the use of government aircraft. Ann Compton has more.
At President Bush's direction, the first changes in the White House travel policy are sure to be the political trips. Aides say the policy that requires reimbursement of only coach fares when the president or his top aides use expensive military jets will be adjusted, and the Republican Party will find it more expensive to ride the president's coattails. Today, 1 week after its first story, the Washington Post reported that government agencies are complaining while White House Chief of Staff John Sununu was switching to military flights himself. He was pressuring the Departments of State, Defense, and others to reduce their official travel. They say they were summoned to the White House for lectures on cost efficiency, and in one case ordered to pull back 4 staffers sent to Malta to set up the U.S.-Soviet summit. Much of the criticism of Sununu today, public and private, has come from within the ranks of Republicans.
Well, I think it was too much. I mean, I think it was too often. I think he might even agree to that.
I think in a certain sense, Governor Sununu's taking a bad rap here.
Democrats tried to turn the blame instead on the president.
To go to the dentist, or to go skiing, or for other personal and political uses. I think the president has to review that policy. It's his policy, it's his staff.
President Bush finds little humor in it all. At a White House press corps dinner last night, Sununu was not a target for any of the president's barbs. But Sununu tried to take the edge off his bad press, wearing in his lapel what he said was a frequent flyer pin. The White House doesn't say when the travel policy review will be finished, but when it is, the intention is to get the U.S. Air Force out of the business of offering frequent flyer miles and bargain airfares. Ann Compton, ABC News, the White House.
The Space Shuttle Discovery is flying again. 7 astronauts lifted off today on a military mission. This one is not secret, but it is complicated. ABC's Jim Slade has details.
After 2 months of delay for mechanical problems, it was finally off the pad.
We have ignition and liftoff of Discovery.
Headed for the most complicated operation ever required of a space shuttle. On your roll, Discovery. The Strategic Defense Initiative is paying for this operation. It will test satellite systems that might be used to identify and destroy enemy rockets in space. To do it, a small satellite will be placed ahead of the shuttle. As Discovery fires its powerful maneuvering engines, the satellite's infrared sensors will pick out the rocket's blast. Television cameras will record it. The satellite will track it as the shuttle pushes north, turns around, and returns to its original position several times. The shuttle crew hope to fly over 60 major maneuvers in a 3-day period, more than ever asked of the spaceplane systems. They'll wrap up by flying to the satellite and pulling it back aboard. Since most rocket engines have similar characteristics, the shuttle itself is ideal for the test. It's critical that the sensors can distinguish rocket flares from all the other bright objects in space. Jim Slade, ABC News, the Kennedy Space Center.
Coming up, the U.S. military steps up its transport of Iraqi refugees. And Latin America's worst cholera outbreak in a century claims more than 1,000 lives. Later in the broadcast, party time in the Big Easy.
World News Sunday, brought to you by Ford and your Ford dealer.
Iraq today. In the southern town of Safwan, nearly 400 Iraqis boarded Air Force transport planes and flew to safe haven in Saudi Arabia. In the north, U.S. military helicopters moved more homeless, destitute Kurds from the Turkish border into a security zone protected by Allied forces. The military is doubling the size of the zone to encourage Kurds to come down from the border mountains. ABC's Bob Jameson is with one Kurdish family near Kukurja.
For 3 weeks now, the Hamid family has lived on this bleak mountainside, trapped between Saddam Hussein and the unwelcoming Turkish border. There are 14 relatives, sharing 3 tents, led by Ismail, a school teacher, and Salim, who just finished college. Nothing in their middle-class life in Iraq prepared them for this.
It's very different from the way when we lived in the hall, but this is what we want.
Life is now ruled by things they once took for granted or never needed. Every day for the men begins with a search for firewood, the only fuel. With the nearby hills stripped bare, they must walk farther and farther each morning. Today, 3 hours. Water is the responsibility of young girls in the family, like 12-year-old Shaluva and 13-year-old Vaman. Cleanliness in this filthy place is an obsession. Each day, the proud and dignified Kurds who can, like the Hamids, carefully wash the few things they have left. Ismail says he worries about the camp's effects on his 3-year-old son and the other children, and he fears the spread of illness. In the middle of the day, the men gather to see if anyone knows how soon they will leave this place. The refugees are starved for news.
I think information about the world and learning is like food. We cannot live without doing anything, only eating and just sitting here. It's bad, very bad for us.
Hunger is one part of their misery that is past. There is enough food, and Hamdiya makes certain there is a regular family dinner. The family's hopes for the future, like the meal of rice and potatoes, are simple.
I want to live in peace. I want to be free. This is the only thing I want. I want to live like other peoples in other countries.
Some of the refugees say that in this awful place, they sleep more easily than they did at home, because at least here, they are free. Bob Jameson, ABC News on the Turkish-Iraqi border.
Today, incidentally, is Saddam Hussein's 54th birthday. And despite Iraq's crushing defeat in the war, the celebration took place as scheduled. Saddam was dressed all in white, greeting members of his political party and enjoying entertainment provided by children. Music was courtesy of Iraq's National Symphony Orchestra. The musicians were playing their version of My Way. And now medical news, the cholera epidemic that is spreading rapidly across South America.